We've been using the Xiaomi 14T Pro for like a month, and before I proceed any further, this is not a review, which we will save it for another content. Instead, we are going to look at one of the major improvements Xiaomi has done to the 14 series, and it happens to be the camera, and they've been raving about the low light performance a lot. So let us share our experience and show you some tricks on how to shoot like we did. So let's not waste any time and get right into it, and you're watching The Adventures of Vesper. So let's get started. On paper, the Xiaomi 14T Pro camera looks vaguely similar to the 14, and it has the right type of upgrades over the 13T Pro. I say this because I use the 14 as my personal daily driver. Now, you get the Light Fusion 900 sensor from the 14, a proper functional triple camera setup that gives you the ultra wide and telephoto experience, and the Xiaomi AI ISP experience, which you can control on and off at will. So let us quickly show you the hardware specification of this camera on your screen. Now, it uses the Leica Vario Summilux ASPH 50 megapixel 23mm f1.6 dual native ISO Fusion Max sensor with a 50 megapixel 60mm f2.0 and a 12 megapixel 15mm f2.2. Now, let's address the improvements over the 13T Pro because we have heard a lot of stories about that phone. Now, for one, the 14T Pro can do in-sensor zooming with the 23mm primary sensor and the 60mm sensor to hit higher focal lengths through image cropping. Now, think of it as using your full frame camera and switching to the APS-C and 35mm mode to get that crop, which is somewhat of a zoom of sorts. So because of that, you see the option to do 2x and 2.6x. Now, secondly, since it's made in collaboration with Leica, you get all that Summilux lens goodness instead of the Summicron in the 13T Pro, the Leica Authentic and Vibrant mode, and the Master Lens system. Now, enough about what's on the paper, because on the paper it may sound good, but the experience is what matters the most. That's it. We use the camera as extensive as possible. We wanted to compare with the 13T Pro, but we don't have one, and we have not reviewed the 13T Pro last year. However, we chose to compare with the 14 instead to see if you are getting a flagship experience for the price you pay. Now, starting off with the color test. To start off, we kick things off with a simple color test to see how the Dimensity 9300 Plus ISP goes against the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 ISP. Now, MediaTek has come a long way, and it's not as bad as it was once upon a time. And to be able to go against a Snapdragon today is a big feat indeed. Now, immediately we can tell with the 14T Pro that the Leica Authentic has a much more stronger vignetting, whereas the Vibrant mode has almost none. Now, the next focus I would say in the colors are the red and orange wooden toys on the top right, which is the obvious among the bunch, where it's less saturated with Authentic and it's properly vibrant in the Vibrant profile. Interestingly, the yellow piece looks brighter in the Authentic and dull with proper shadows on the sides in the Vibrant. Now, when you put it side by side with the Xiaomi 14 Photos, which uses the Qualcomm ISP because it runs on the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor instead, you can tell with the Authentic, the 14T has a slightly stronger orange and red in terms of contrast and lesser vignetting, and it's slightly warmer as well. The Vibrant image, I must say that the 14T Pro is punchier with those two colors we mentioned earlier as compared to the 14, but the overall image is somewhat balanced. So with this simple comparison, we must say that theoretically, the 14T Pro achieves the bland and vibrant color with the respective modes. However, the Xiaomi 14 has a more natural-ish color with less emphasis on the contrast. Now, if you want some contrasty image, you now know which camera to go for. Now, second thing, let's talk about HDR, because I have a huge love-hate relationship with HDR because it either messes up my image or gets the right type of feel I want, which is why I am glad for the on and off toggle on the top of the camera, so that for this test, we're going to show you a simple HDR and a non-HDR shot in low light, which we think is a better way to see it. Now, starting off with this wine lust sign, with the HDR off, you can see that the neon light is fully blown out in every letter as it looks pretty bright from the get-go. You don't have any gradation and whatnot. Now, toggle the HDR on, you can see the light get more subtle, and you notice the gradient in the light color, making it more subtle and nice to look at. Now the next image of a hawker store, with the HDR off, you can notice how the lights, be it on the signboard, the tube lights and so on, are just blown out of proportion. You toggle the HDR on, you notice that the image no longer has that weird halation all over, and the sign is more controlled with proper rates, and the tube light is pretty fantastic as well. Now HDR works by taking a quick set of image by over and under exposing it, therefore balancing the light and shadows very well. There are times you will get a good photo like this, but in the daylight the experience can vary. So always toggle on and off if you need to, especially if you want to get the photo that you really like. Personally, I will say this, the optics Xiaomi has opted in for behind this camera is solid as it can get. Granted, due to the processor differences, you will see variations in tonality and all that kind of stuff, but hey, I hope this convinces you that the MediaTek ISP is no slouch and you won't be entirely disappointed. And yes, for me with the Xiaomi 14T Pro, at least toggling the HDR on and off whenever I shoot and switching between the authentic and vibrant colors help with taking the photos I like. With that, we're going to show other photos we have taken with this camera. Now, how you can shoot with your 14T Pro. Now, we're not going to gatekeep any of the images we have talked about here and actually show you the way we shot with the Xiaomi 14T Pro, so you could try with yours when you get yours. Now the camera app is pretty simple and straightforward to use. After you set it up, you have all the necessary controls such as the HDR, Leica color modes and so on. We had no issues dealing with this, and you can even enjoy the bokeh with the master controls under the portrait, but this is one part we feel Xiaomi could actually get better. Now starting off with the simple ultra wide to telephoto test, we went from 0.6 all the way to 5x. Now the 0.6 has an odd color shift which gives some green hues with slightly cold tone, but at 1x it seems fine because it's the main sensor. Then the 2x, which is a crop of the primary sensor, and so is the 2.6x, the colors are consistent, and I'd say that I prefer the 2x over the 2.6x. And finally at 5x, which is the telephoto, it's pretty okay, though it lacks some sharpness. Now the mural here was shot with the ultra wide to show the color differences with the vibrant and authentic to see which I prefer the most. Now let me know in the comment section below which one you like, and I will reveal which I personally prefer and which is which in few days time. Now the ultra wide sensor doesn't use the Light Fusion 900, but it's the most fun to play with. Like taking a shot of this outlet, we tapped where the lights were, dimmed it, turned HDR off and got this shot. Now we have shot more photos with the Xiaomi 14T Pro, but I recommend checking out the deep dive article we posted on our site with all the sample shots and more for you to examine. Now do check it out because we hope it helps with your decision to get this phone for the camera or not. That's it. Just based off what you have seen so far and what we have experienced, I will say that this camera is pretty impressive and gave my Xiaomi 14 a challenge which I did not expect. Now just because it's powered by MediaTek doesn't mean it's a bad phone either. Leave all that in the past because they have improved. Sure, the camera can give you hits and misses, but we can say the same for one of the flagship out there as well, which in fact costs more, and even with my Xiaomi 14 as well. But with that said, the Xiaomi 14T Pro surely handles itself very well. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. If I got this camera like in a phone back in 2016, I would have been a happy human. And oh, the experience will improve because right after the launch, Xiaomi has updates as well for that AI experience if you really care about that. Now, as for the rest of the phone, it screams premium in every way possible, and we know Xiaomi is venturing into that premium market. But they actually told us the price for this phone. Now, which is 2,599 ringgit for 256 gig, that's 2,999 for the 512 gigs and 3,499 for a terabyte storage, which is pretty much a bargain. Now, we intend to make a full review on this phone, so stay tuned for that, and this won't be the last content we'll be doing with the 14T Pro. And if you have any recommendations, any content that you want us to do with the 14T Pro, let us know in the comment section below. And I'll catch you guys in another video, and thank you so much to Xiaomi Malaysia for making this video happen and for providing this phone to make this content happen. We will catch you guys in another video. Until then, this is Prithviraj signing off. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.